Welcome to a new episode of the Everything Accordion Podcast. Today I'm excited to be talking to an extraordinary musician, a professor at a conservatory at a music academy in Switzerland. She is an active performer of new music, and not only. She commissions lots of works for chamber music, for solo accordion, and as well she is very, very active in the pedagogical space for the accordion, and that's something that I really want to dive deep into today. And without further ado, Anna-Maria Hölscher, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. We have tried to schedule this a couple of times before, but we had to change plans, so I'm really happy to be sitting here today and talking to you. And just to start off the conversation, do you remember when was the first time that you maybe heard, saw, or even tried an accordion?
Yes, probably the first time I saw and tried and heard the accordion was when I had an appointment at the music school where I really wanted to start go to, and so in my mind I didn't have the accordion before choosing or before starting to play an instrument. I just really wanted to go to the music school. This is what I told my mother, and then she signed me up with those normal instruments like piano or flute or something like that. And the music school replied, well, if she wants to play the piano or flute, she will have to wait at least for a year. And we have a long waiting list. But if she wants to start right away, we would have available space in the classes for mandolin and for accordion. So my choice was just to say, no, I'm not going to wait. I want to go to the music school, no matter which instrument. So I wasn't even into the piano or flute or anything. I just wanted to go to the music school. So at the end, my mother decided for the accordion. So I took that and I went there, and we had this kind of entrance exam. Where they just, I think they just checked some basic skills, like are you able to sing a melody or to clap a rhythm, and of course like to touch the instrument you have chosen or the instrument that has chosen you. Like how does it fit together? So I think that was pretty much the first time I connected to the accordion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because like now hearing you speak, I thought that, it's really over the conversations that I've had on this podcast and also on the other podcast. It's basically, two different camps. It's either you choose the instrument because you've kind of fell in love with it, or the instrument chose you, or like completely by accident,
Yes,
And
yes.
In your case, I believe it was this, doing music, whatever
Yes.
the means the instrument
Yes.
is,
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And so later I was playing the piano and I was playing the flute, and later I developed this very deep wish to play the violin. Unfortunately, I never played the violin. So I stayed with the accordion for, I don't know which reasons. So, but at the end, it's really about making music, which sounds maybe strange, but I'm just using the instrument to make the music I wish to make. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks a lot also to your, trying the different mediums for which to make music, like piano, flute, maybe also because it's all, ways of creating sound, of exploring music and exploring sound. And I mean, for whatever reason, one in the end has a bigger appeal for some reason. What do you think was your bigger appeal for staying with the accordion?
Well, I think I never really thought deeply about it. It's just, it was instrument. It was my first instrument. I stayed with my first instrument. I was just doing what I was doing. And so, of course, with the piano and flute, I was never playing it at the same level. I mean, those were side instruments and meant to be side instruments. So I learned a lot from playing other instruments, and I learned a lot from playing with other instruments like chamber music. So um, I I think I'm very interested in the differences between different instruments. But at the end, I just chose the instrument I could play best, I guess.
I mean, it makes sense if you invested already the time into it. Like, why change?
Yeah, something like that. So.
Absolutely. And what was your, let's say, more academic path like? Like, did it occur to you at one moment that you're like, you know what, I want to be a professional musician and go and explore this further?
Yes, that occurred to me quite early. Um, Maybe also my very first teacher, he really strongly supported me. And so he started saying, oh, you will be a musician, or you will be an accordionist, you will be an accordion teacher. When I was so young, I didn't even know what he means. So, um, but that, of course, that stayed in my mind. It sticked to my thoughts. I mean, he was saying that again and again, and then he suggested to change the school, to go to the Musikgymnasium in Weimar, which is a music school, or music. How would you say in English? It's a normal school, like the normal education plus the musical education together in one school, with a boarding school connected to the academy, music academy in Weimar. So with a
Okay.
very strong focus on music, and they start from sixth grade, I think. So the age of, let's say, 11, something like that. And he suggested, why don't you go there? He was there like really many years before, and so, and he never had any student going there. But for me, he thought that could be the right place. And at that age, I wasn't quite sure, and then, or I didn't have really an opinion. So it's not that I was not sure, I just didn't have an opinion. So my mother said, okay, if she not really wants to do it, I'm not letting her go into a boarding school. So I don't want her to live away from home if she not really wants to do that. So I didn't go. And but again, it sticked to my mind, and I was thinking more about it. And later, at the age of I guess 12, 13, then I came and said, okay, I really want to do that. I want to go there. And it was clear, if you go there, then you go there because you see yourself in the future as a musician. Yes, we did the normal Abitur, so I could have studied other things after. It was not a final decision, but it was a strong decision to focus on music. And at that point, when I said I want to go there, my mother said, okay, if you want to go there, then that's okay. Prepare yourself for the entrance exam again. And so I started there at the age of 14, I think. And from then on, I studied with Claudia Bruder, who now is the professor in Weimar. So I had 5 wonderful years at that school, which influenced me enormously. Not only because only then I started playing the free bass accordion, for example. Then I discovered the contemporary music for the accordion. I had a different surrounding, like influencing me just in terms of all things that have to do with the accordion. But also I was surrounded by young musicians, very focused on music, with from all different kinds, or playing all different kinds of instruments. So we would go to school in the morning, we would practice in the afternoon, all of us. We would like be room to room, wall to wall. So I would just listen to so much music and to so many people practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so listening to so many practicing processes and talking about making music and also playing chamber music already back then with so many different instruments. So that was, I think, just for me, the best place to develop.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, and there, I mean, that was a surrounding. Most of us studied music after. There was not a big discussion. Yes, of course, when I finished my school, there was at least once I thought, okay, what would you do if you couldn't study music, or if you had to choose something else? I didn't really want to think about that. So I put those thoughts aside and thought, okay, if there is nothing else coming to me like right away, then music is the right thing.
That resonates a lot also with me, and I feel that it's kind of magical in a way, maybe not entirely super healthy in terms of environment, but still like being there, breathing music, seeing, hearing music at an early age surely has a huge influence on the way we perceive ourselves also as musicians, as professionals, as artists. And it's very interesting what you're speaking about this system, because, for example, in the post-Soviet Union era, for example, in Moldova, we do have such schools, and it starts from when you're age 7, and it's 10 or 12 years. Again, normal lessons, maths, languages, geography, whatever. But the focus is also on developing the musical skills and the instrument. In the end, you can also choose to do something else, as you mentioned. But let's say that if you go to that school, normally our process is you go to a school, then you go to a music college, which is not the academy. Then you go to the academy, and then you can also go to like a postdoc position, or to become an assistant, or to become a professor. Like that's kind of the normal Eastern way, in a way. If you go to that school, you can skip the college entirely and go to the academy. And I think now there's also a preparation period or whatever. But still, like being in that environment and already seeing things happening is definitely formative. And I believe also what's super important, and that speaks also for your story, about the influence and the support of the people that we have around us, you know. In my case, my mom told me, okay, you finish school, because I was already thinking about going to college or going to the last years of such a music school. And she told me, no, first you finish the normal school, then you do whatever you want. You know, so there was support, but it was kind of, in a way, conditional support, which I'm very grateful for, because how things played out in the end. So I'm very happy with that. And I remember when I was at this international school, and all of my classmates, but it had nothing to do with music, but I still was playing and practicing. All of them were going to universities like Harvard, Yale, Brown, big Ivy League universities, studying whatever. And from this international school, we had a sort of easy access to funding and to have full scholarships, which in the US are like $50,000 per year at least. And I thought, well, maybe I could go and study something else. And as soon as this thought came, I was like, nope, I decided I want to be a musician. Stop. Like, don't think about it. Don't even consider it. So, it kind of resonated with me, what you were saying. Like, what would I do? Nothing comes to mind. Yeah, musician.
Yeah, sounds similar.
Yeah, exactly. And then I also read that you studied in Canada as well. One question before that. What was the environment like at the time? Because nowadays we have more access, it's easier to travel, easier to get in touch with professors and teachers in different countries, different realities. What was it like for you back then?
Yeah, that's not an easy question. Environment is a big word. I was born in 1979, so that was still GDR. So I grew up in first years of my life in the GDR, and even though you would say, okay, when she was 10 or 11, the wall came down, things have changed and so on. Still, I mean, the environment there where I lived was still, of course, heavily influenced by the history before. It's not that, I mean, yes, lots of things changed right away, but a lot of things did not change right away.
Yes.
So I guess something which is familiar to you from your family's history, maybe. So my teacher, Claudia Uda, I mean, she was back then when the wall came down, she was still studying, and for her, of course, a lot of possibilities opened. I think that was the time when she went to study for some time with Miyamiki, which would not have happened before, to discover different other surroundings where the accordion had its place, which was, I think, a different place. I mean, we still do have that by now, that we see, okay, there's things happening in this country and things happening in that country. But still, I have the feeling by now it's so much more connected, and you're so much more. It's so much easier to connect to different other accordionists, to different styles, to different music. So back then, I guess it was a little more narrow, or which I don't want to judge. I mean, it was just the way it was. And back then, for us, there was still a lot to discover. I mean, having a lot of information doesn't automatically lead to like a deeper understanding or a better knowledge. So now I think young accordionists have to deal with this overload of information.
Yes.
I would not say we did have that, but I mean, this is how time changes. This is just, yes, things change. Back then, it was, I guess, less international, more focused on the things just close to you, and also getting knowledge through the teachers you had. It's just or through other people, not through internet or things like that. So you had to rely on what people were telling you. So you were lucky when you met the right people, and I am very lucky. So yeah.
Yeah, and was it a shock to you when you went and maybe studied in Canada, for example, because it was kind of, I don't want to say the opposite, but still, in a way, very different from, let's say the more, I don't want even to say Eastern school of accordion playing, because that doesn't really mean anything today.
Yes,
But
also I would
still,
say the Weimar school is not what you would connect to the more Eastern school if you really want to use those labels. It's very
yeah.
difficult to talk in those labels, but well, I mean, before going to Canada, I first went to study with Hugo Noth in Trossingen, which already was a big change, not because of, I mean, also because of Hugo Noth, but for me that was a big change within Germany. Just living in Weimar for all the time and then going to southern, like western, southern Germany. It's a completely different mentality, and so all this took me quite some time to get used to. That was a big change. And from there, I went to Canada, but which was a big change again, but an adventurous change. So I took it more as an adventure than like just like starting studying. Wasn't for me, I guess, not so much connected with discovering a new country, but still it was discovering a very new country. So I didn't expect that big of a change, and therefore I guess I was a little shaken. But going to Canada, I mean, I was hoping for a big change, and I was hoping for influences that would surprise me. And so I guess my own expectations were just different. And therefore, yes, it was, I discovered a lot of things I didn't know before or I haven't heard of before. But that was what I was looking for.
Speaking of importance of teachers, professors, those who open doors and perspectives for us, not necessarily for maybe a performance career, but more like understanding the music and understanding the way. Something that I noticed that you are especially interested in is also developing a sort of knowledge base, database for developing also repertoire or new ways in which young accordionists who approach the instrument can learn. And I noticed that also when I was last December at the Swiss Accordion Day in Lucerne, and I found it very interesting, this big engagement and interest in developing that side. And yeah, I would like to explore that side of your activity a bit more before we dive more into the performance part.
What I notice, I mean, we always say the accordion is a young instrument. And of course, it will always be a young instrument compared to others. We will not change that. But to be honest, it's not a young instrument anymore. I mean, it's by now, I don't know. For me, that is not convincing anymore. Just always to rely on the age of the instrument. And we have great accordionists developing a lot of repertoire, which allowed the instrument to stabilize a position on concert stages. Let's put it that way. So this is a repertoire on a very high level, easily said. And of course, we also have great teachers who work with young and youngest and young accordionists, also developing a lot of things which might seem less spectacular because it's not so much in the public. but what I think is really important for the future of our instrument, because when we only try to develop new repertoire, new pieces on this extremely technically high level, I don't think the accordion develops enough. We need also to think about the path. How do we get there, and how actually, what do the new pieces we have, the new creations with new techniques and new sounds and new ideas, what do they imply for the education of the youngest and young accordionists? How do we actually, what do we take from that development to change our pedagogy, our methodics? And I'm not saying that no one has thought about that yet. There is people and accordionists that have thought about that have experience with it. But I feel it's not yet collected in a way, or maybe structurized in a way it could be useful for the next generation of teachers. So I'm always thinking in this circle process. So young accordionists start to learn the instrument, they develop as accordionists and as musicians, they go on stage, then they start to teach, and then they are responsible for the next generation of accordionists. So how have we developed the education within the last century, or within the time the accordion exists, is, I think, less viewable and less clear, and maybe less developed than the repertoire for like ambitious accordionists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I've never thought about it like that, and it's curious to hear your thoughts, because I'm thinking that, the way I believe many of us kind of teach by default is the way we were taught, and we were kind of going from the start to hopefully the pupil will arrive at one point where they can tackle those repertoire pieces. But
Yes.
then it's again kind of a sort of a selection process, because not all of them, or not even a very small part of them, will arrive to actually make the jump afterwards, at least in my experience. But maybe there's something wrong with my teaching. I don't want to research that right now.
No, I don't think so. I think by now it's still, there will always be a certain part which you cannot control, which is good. I mean, it's artistic to not control. But this part a child gives, this part a child has inside, and so on. I'm not neglecting it. I'm not denying it. It's a very important part, but it's also a very important part to know your pedagogy. Your what are you doing, and why are you doing it, and how are you doing it, and. So at the beginning, I was saying I was always interested in other instruments. So I really, I listened to a lot of other instruments. I listened to a lot of other instrumentalists having classes. And so I noticed that, for example, for the string players, they have a clear system. Within that system, like of education, a clear system, they know what they have to develop. They still have a lot of different ways of doing it, but they can agree on certain fields of education. For example, a string player knows I have to develop my right hand and my left hand. So this is to start with. So my right hand is the bowing. How do I hold the bow? Which already there is different opinions on it, but still all of them know I have to teach how to hold the bow. I have to teach how to use the bow and how to articulate with a bow. So they have all those string articulations like détaché and martelé and so on. And yes, there is different schools and different opinions, but still all of them, no one would say you don't have to do that. You don't need that. All of them would say, yes, you need that. And then they know they have to develop the left hand. They have the different positions of the hand. They have to learn how to change positions. They have the different finger position, like the hand position, the finger positions, the change of positions, the different strings where they have to switch the angle. And the vibrato is another thing to develop with the left hand. So all of those, this is so clear and so obvious. And I thought, wow, that's great. Only because they have this very clear basic system, or let's say like just very clearly defined fields of technique, of parts of technique, instrumental technique. Only because of that, they can really collect and sort different ideas and different approaches. And so it's not, my approach is completely different from yours. It's just in this, I would do in this part of our education, I would go this way. I believe it should be more like this or more like that. But they can talk to each other. They're not saying I have one idea of one complete methodic path. They know like just the different fields, and they know they have to do something for the different fields. And it's the same with the wind players. They know they have to talk about developing their breath and the way of breathing. They have to develop tongue to articulate, and so on. So all these instruments. And of course, they had more time to develop it because, yes, they are not as young as we are, but we are not that young anymore that we can allow ourselves to just always do what we feel or to just let it happen. I don't want to just let it happen, even though, of course, we still need to be open for a rest of things that just happen coincidentally. But...
Yeah. And, I really like the, two, maybe three things in what you said. I agree with you 100% that we're in this kind of bubble very often. Well, not we, those who kind of work with more broad fields, but for someone who is predominantly in an accordion field, I notice again this thing, and I had conversations also with listeners of the podcast and followers on Instagram about it. And at one point, the question becomes, okay, when do we get out of this bubble? When do we go in the big world? Because it's again this. I don't want to say that we're misunderstood, that we don't have our space, because that's a way of seeing things from at least 30, maybe 40 years ago, in my opinion. Because nowadays we made great steps forward, and if the instrument is not as seen on concert stages as other instruments, there are many other reasons, predominantly commercial and cultural, not necessarily the fact that we're not accepted as a serious concert instrument. We are. I mean, let's just kind of be clear about that, because it's and also about this newness of all the time working on new things. But are they really new, or are they really just a modification of the same techniques, of the same material 100 times over by a different composer? And I also like your approach from where we stand now with the repertoire that we have now, back engineering in a way the pedagogy and the pedagogical side, and saying okay, we don't start where we always started and go towards that. We start from there and understand how we get there. Exactly. And I really love this approach.
Yeah. Yeah. This is good. Well, just with my own biography, I think this is the point from where I can look back. Yeah, I mean, I worked a lot with students in their 20s, yes, maybe, so let's put it that way. So I don't have a lot of experience with really small children, but I think I can still just add one perspective to the education, as you said, looking basically back, how things could be developed in an earlier age, or how do we get to the point where we can do different things.
And from your perspective, as you were saying about the string players, the techniques that we need to develop, areas of studies that they need, for an accordionist today, what are the, let's say, top 5 areas of study that we or a future professional accordionist needs to study and learn?
Well, I can tell you the 4 fields I defined for myself, where I thought, okay, if I have those in mind when educating, when teaching, when I have those 4 in mind, and if I make sure that I can give some input to all of these fields, then that's at least something already. So I structured it for myself into 4 fields. So the first one is body and the body and the accordion. So as one system, in my opinion, my instrument is not the accordion. My instrument is my body plus the accordion. So this is one entity. So everything that has to do with that, which can be either apart from the accordion, like just warming up, cooling down, stretching, like the health part of it, or the body awareness part of it, but also with the accordion together. So how do I have to move to make the sound, or to influence the sound in the way I really want to have it? How can I make movements, either small ones or big ones, in a way that they're appropriate to the music, or appropriate to the sound, or appropriate to the instrument, and so on, or to my health, whatever. So body and accordion as one entity is one big field. The next field, I call it the geography of the accordion, which means Yeah, geography is not, I think the term came, I guess, from Huguenot. So I'm not saying that I invented it, but for me, it's a good a picture. Geography in terms of, okay, I have to know my map. I have to know my manual. So I have to know where to go on the button accordion. It's like which row is what, and I have this the rows like in the vertical way and in the diagonal way. I have to know the different intervals. I have to know my fourth row and maybe also my fifth row, and so this is very geographical, like a part for me. It's like a landscape. Like a map, and you have to be able to orientate yourself without any problems, basically. And it's not only the manuals, it's also the registers. So we have the different, kinds of registers. I have to train and develop how do I change registers, when do I change them, what different possibilities do we have. And also in contemporary music, of course, there is a lot of using the accordion as a sound box. So we do things not only on the manuals and registers, but all over the instrument. So you can go further and further with that, really discovering the map of the box. So, and orientate yourself, be secure, like knowing different paths, knowing how to, for example, jumps, how to orientate jumps, or how to be secure on octaves, or I'm just like the basic things, or how to even on a button accordion, very important. How do I develop a diatonic scale? I mean, the button accordion is a chromatic instrument. There is no like the diatonic scale is not logical, not to me at least. For
the listeners, we're both playing piano accordions, so to us,
yeah,
we know how buttons work, but still.
Yeah, yes. I'm teaching the button accordion so much more often than the piano accordion, and also we have it in the left hand as well. We have like two different countries to develop, like with the piano and button accordion. So geography is the second part. The third part, I would say, is, and now the next two parts, I take them apart, but at the end, the most interesting part is to connect them, is the finger technique, which sounds like familiar to everyone, I guess. And the fourth part is the bellow technique. All kinds of sound production. How does the bellow actually work? Is the sound produced? When does it start? How much do I have to do? Which already is different when opening or closing the bellow. Like opening, it does it itself, and I use different muscles for it. Opening and closing. I naturally use different muscles to open and close the accordion, but really to get very close to the sound production, and to the skills of changing the sound. Has a lot to do with the bellows and with the air production. But as I said, the much more interesting part, because much more hidden kind of, or secret, is connecting the finger and the bellow techniques. Because you will not play the accordion, or you basically cannot really play the accordion just with the fingers or just with the bellows. So it's always connected, but you can change so many things on really deciding, what do I want to do with the finger, what do I want to do with the bellow, what is the mount, what is the balance. Just this, where they meet, how do they meet, in which amount do I go more to the one or to the other side? This I find extremely interesting.
Okay, so to summarize, you would have 4, I would say 5 in a way, because you combine the third and the fourth, because to me that's Yeah.
The third, so yes, to summarize, the first thing was the body and the accordion as an entity. The second is the geography, then the finger technique and the bellow technique, and at the end, you could say the fifth one is putting finger and bellow technique together. But of course, at the very end, playing the accordion means all four of those fields are involved in, and that can be in very different amounts of but all of those four fields are involved when playing the accordion, and this is why I am using this structure for myself to think about playing the accordion. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's very comprehensive, and I believe if not 100%, 99.9% of repertoire is covered by these four fields. Because when you were talking also about the geography and the mapping of the instrument, I was thinking about last October, I was at a music academy in Romania, in Cluj-Napoca, presenting the accordion to the composition class, and a young student came to me and asked me, if I want to have this effect, how would I do that? And I immediately knew, because, as you said, the geography and the mapping, what kind of sound, what kind of noise he wanted, deeper, bigger, smaller, knowing, and also this mapping of the instrument, knowing also the directions, diagonal, vertical, horizontal, and so on, is something that allows us, and me specifically, I can actually practice a piece also without the instrument, simply because I know the instrument so well, and I know that if I want this chord, it's this position, or if it's this, and so on. That's super important.
Yes, absolutely, because also if we have an instrument, we cannot look at our fingers. So I always say our fingers have to get eyes. So they have to develop the ability to look and to see something.
And that connects to the body as well, because I remember, I was thinking, okay, if I, where would be this note here? And I immediately went there, and I am 100% sure that that's exactly where the key is.
Yes.
Simply because,
body experience. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, so that's absolutely fascinating. Yes.
Yeah. So, as I said, those are the fields I defined for myself, and for each field, of course, we now could take we could take time to talk about. It's not. It's just the beginning. What I want to say, this is just the beginning to talk about a methodic idea for the instrument. It's just like. The introduction, and then from that point on we could start to discuss so many different things and to exchange so many different ideas, but still we would always know where we are at, basically, and that gives us some support, I think. Yes.
Yeah, and I also like to round up this kind of pedagogical discussion. I saw that you are also curating a project, Farben des Accordions, Colors of the Accordion, with a YouTube channel with different playlists. And I invite every listener, if you hadn't visited the homepage and the YouTube channel, I will link this in the description of the episode.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Absolutely, because I find it very important also to have this kind of repertoire to be heard and seen. And I remember you were talking about having a sort of collection form, online digital collection form in Lucerne, about collecting pieces for developing certain techniques, or to have a database of repertoire. Is that link available, that form available, that I can link it in the description of the episode so that
could be
listeners
a very
can
good
contribute?
Idea. Yes, I can send it to you, but I have to say I sent it to a lot of colleagues and I did not get the response I was hoping for. So it's a project
I didn't get the link. Sorry.
And well, I'm not blaming anyone. I mean, we all have a lot of things to do, but still, the idea behind that is it's concentrating on pedagogical music, and I was thinking, okay, it would be good to even a small group of accordionists would suggest, like each of them would suggest just 4 pieces they use, because they think, okay, those are great pieces. I use them with my students to develop this and that, or and what I
Absolutely.
like a lot about them is so if they would just mark them with some keywords, not a long text, not a long story, just a suggestion, and if each of them would just suggest 4 pieces, which maybe even have something to do with each other. So let's say I want to develop a good phrasing, so put it that way. I use these 4 pieces with my students. I had the experience that they work. It just works. I can use them. The kids like them. I can develop things that are important to me. So if we would collect that, at the end, all of us would take something out of it. Of course, yeah. We have to rely on suggestions. We have to exchange things, but to make it available for more than just the 1 or 2 or 3 colleagues you are in exchange with, I thought it would be a good idea to put them together. So yes,
Absolutely.
I will
Yes.
gladly share the link, and let's see what happens. Maybe we get some response, and then
It's an appeal now to the listeners of the podcast. Please contribute. Click
yes.
on the link in the description. Go and send Anne, Anne Maria, her pieces that you are using in your own pedagogy that you find that work great. Because I think it's also very important for me. I'm using some pieces. I'm mostly teaching standard bass accordion because unfortunately many pupils drop out before we begin the free bass system. But the thing is that after 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, I'm kind of already getting a bit bored of those pieces. They work, but I'm asking myself all the time, are there other pieces that I could use also for me to keep it fresh, also for the
Of
pupils?
course, yes. As a
Because
teacher,
if I start every single year with the same pieces, I'm like, oh my god, again this piece,
yeah.
And to have a collection in which you are like, you know what, I want that this pupil has a problem with his thumb. He is not
Exactly.
using his thumb
Yeah.
properly. What pieces can I find that can solve that problem? And you go and you see all of the pieces from the colleagues that they used in that regard. And I believe it's such a huge help. So again, an appeal to the listeners, please click on the link in the description and send Anna Maria your suggestions. And I have another idea that we can discuss after the recording of this episode. So yeah, to round up this pedagogical side, let's move on to your performance side. I don't know how much time we still have, but about your performance side, as a performer, you're playing a lot of contemporary music, following you on Spotify and on YouTube on the different channels. For me, it's also interesting to see what you are doing with your chamber duo, accordion and piano, also because I play accordion and piano as a chamber duo. And I actually came to one of your concerts in Ljubljana last year, and it was really great to hear the type of works that you are developing and commissioning and working on. So yeah, let's talk about your performance career. What are your kind of main focuses and main interests at the moment?
Yes, not only at the moment, but I think always the main focus and main interest was on playing chamber music, ensemble music, or playing in orchestras. Not as a soloist. I do play solo concerts, but I just enjoy being on stage with other people, being able to communicate not only with the audience or with the music I play, but also with someone else on stage. So this is what I really love. Yes, chamber music, ensemble music, and bigger ensembles, orchestras. Being involved in a group is something I I like, and something it's the place I see myself at. So the duo with piano is just one of different chamber music projects, but at the moment, I guess it's the most intense project, chamber music project. So I'm playing together with my husband. Maybe that makes it intense too, because of course we're talking about ideas, talking about the music, not only in the rehearsal process, but basically in our daily life. We share our thoughts, we share our ideas. So there's maybe two things which could be interesting for the audience. The one thing is we recorded a CD with works by Joseph Haydn. So this is not the contemporary part of it.
Which I really liked, and I will link in the description of this episode. I recommend hearing it, especially the transcription for piano and accordion of the two sonatas, which were really great. I really liked them. Yes, sorry.
Yes, thank you. So it's a double CD, which on Spotify doesn't make a difference, I guess, but in the physical CD is a double CD. And we first thought, okay, one CD with piano, one with accordion, and we ended up with mixed CDs, which I like more now. And each CD starts with, I think both CDs starts with two works on the accordion, then one work for accordion and piano, and then two works for the piano. And the works for piano and accordion were transcriptions. We asked a friend of ours, a composer, Gordon Kampe, to arrange sonatas for the two of us. And we did that also, of course, for fun, just because we wanted to play together. But another idea behind was that we both, when we play the solo works, we play the repetitions with ornaments. Because that was the habit back then, and when the music was written. So we were very much discovering those different kinds of ornamentations, which make the music more colorful or more, which just show a bigger variety. So the act of arranging the music asked the composer for a different kind of ornamentation, you could say. It's not an ornamentation like a trill or a different melody line, but a different color, a different instrumental color, which is kind of an ornamentation to us, at least. So that was interesting, and that was where the idea came from originally. Also from the idea, yes, you have to have a reason to make a CD with piano and accordion, like to play Haydn sonatas on the piano and the accordion. So the idea behind that was originally that back then when Haydn wrote the sonatas, he didn't have a specific instrument in mind. And back then he had different instruments also for, he wanted his music to be played by a lot of people. So he would not say it has to be played on the fortepiano or on the harpsichord. He would just say it's keyboard music. So take the instrument you have at home, just play the music. And so we thought, okay, the piano and accordion are the instruments we have at home, so we take those, both of them. Yes, and both of them are not the instruments Haydn knew. The modern piano is not what he had back then. And so we both discovered the music as transcriptions, even though many pianists, I guess, would not think about that so much. But as I said, we were talking about our ideas in our daily life. Of course, for my husband living with an accordionist, playing a lot of transcriptions, it's a big part of our discussions to talk about what actually is a transcription. What do we do? What is actually the the idea of it, and also what do we have to develop, how do we approach the music with the instruments we have. So this was a very important part for us to think about all those questions. And I guess that also led us to the idea to have a composer arrange two sonatas for the two of us, really just connecting the two instruments in the process of transcribing music by Joseph Haydn. Yes, so this is the one big project we had. And the other one is a project which involves the commission of 3 pieces for piano and accordion. The commissions are quite old. I mean, in terms of the project planning was many years ago. The funding we received many years ago, and just the process of developing the pieces took, for several reasons, took some time. But now, today, I can say we have received all 3 of those pieces. All 3 pieces. Yes, we are really happy. We are really, of course, a little bit proud too, but
I would say so. I mean, the works, if for the people who didn't hear them, I don't know, are they available anywhere right now?
Well, so not yet, but they will be hopefully next year. So but let me maybe first say a little bit about the pieces. So we asked composers. No, I'm not. It's just maybe more understandable for the audience when they know what we are talking about. So. The 3 composers are Fabien Lévy, Marton Ilesch, and Enno Poppe. All 3 pieces have about the same length. All of them are between 20 and 25 minutes, which is major pieces, I would say, like long pieces. And for us, the most interesting thing is that all 3 pieces are so completely different. We are really happy with that because, of course, when you commission a piece, you do not know what you get at the end. And so when we developed the project, we were thinking, yes, the instrumentation or the group of accordion and piano is awkward, and most composers would say it is awkward, and all 3 of them still say it's still an awkward ensemble. But we thought, okay, but it's so, they seem so similar in a way, also because I'm playing the piano accordion, so or the keyboard accordion, so they look kind of in a ways they look kind of similar. You would think they are like a little brother or sister to a big brother or sister. But then, of course, everyone knows that the tone production, the sound production is so different. And we were thinking the most interesting part would be taking the attack of the piano, like the percussive element of the piano sound, and taking the duration of the accordion, of the sound of the accordion, taking those 2 things together could develop like a new instrument. And interestingly enough, none of the composers, I would say, really, they did use the idea. But it's not the main idea of none of those 3 pieces. And all 3 of them found a very individual approach to using those 2 instruments. So while Fabien Lévy uses basically the same material in very extreme registers, very high, very rhythmical, both for the accordion and the piano, where you would think, it's it's just really, it sounds so different. But putting them together as one layer creates just a really new sound, I would say, a really never heard instrument. So he puts that together as one instrument by using basically the same musical material, whereas Marton Ilesch is interested in connecting the 2 instruments through the layer of noise and all sorts of noise and sounds that you would not expect from either the one or the other instrument. And the third piece by Enno Popper, which was only premiered at the end of April. We premiered it this April at the festival in Witten, the Wittener Tage für neue Kammermusik, the Wittner Days for New Chamber Music, I guess, something like that in English. Is a real piece of chamber music. Like really, this is one instrument, this is the other. The piece consists of 7 individual parts. Each part has an own idea. Very different movements. So some of them very lyrical, some of them rhythmical. A lot of joy in it, a lot of fun, a lot of deep expression. And using really it as a chamber music as if writing for a classical ensemble like piano and violin. I'm just choosing one of those very well-known duos. So it's a real duo piece, a very kind of classical approach, which is also completely different from the 2 others. And now to your question, when will they be available? So we already recorded the first 2 pieces in January, and we will record Enno Popper's piece in August. And then it takes, as all of you know, it takes some time, but we hope to have a new CD in next year with all 3 pieces. And of course, amazing. I hope many. We hope for many listeners, of course.
Absolutely. I will also share it when the time comes on the Instagram profile. And I really loved all 3 of the pieces. Of course, I heard live the piece by Fabian Levy and Martin Iles, and I've heard the recording from radio recording that you've sent me.
Yes, it was live.
I believe you chose 3 composers who are so diverse in their aesthetics, but all 3 pieces sound so very convincing. Also because I worked with composers and all of them told me, it's difficult to put together a percussive instrument and an instrument that kind of produces the sound, the airy sound of the accordion. So it is challenging, but all 3 of them, I believe, managed to find a way that it just sounds right. It sounds good, convincing, Yes. So absolutely. I will link in the description of the episode where listeners can listen and also buy the physical CD of the Haydn sonatas. And when the time comes, I will also share about the second CD. And to wrap up this conversation with you, Anna-Maria, it has been really interesting, many really interesting insights about our accordion world and so on. What would you say, first of all, where can people hear you or meet you or find you in this second half of 2026?
Well, it's easy to find people nowadays, right? I'm teaching in Lucerne, so whoever wants to meet me can write me an email and ask just to meet. I do live in not only in Lucerne but also in Stuttgart, so this is the second place. When you're close to Stuttgart, you can also get in touch with me. But I guess you were aiming a little bit more on like the
concerts and where can people hear you?
And so on. So I will be teaching just within the next in July. I will be teaching on 2 master classes. I will be in Pula in a week, and I will be in Ottweiler at the end of July, which is in Germany. So 2 master classes. I will be holding or talking more about my this pedagogical technical or approach to accordion techniques we were talking about. I will be talking about that in Augsburg in October, and also playing a solo concert connected to that talk or to that workshop, let's put it that way. I will be playing in the orchestra in Donaueschingen. Fabien Lévy, who has composed the duo for us, he will have a premiere of a big orchestra work in the final concert of Donaueschingen. And so he asked me whether I would be interested in playing the accordion part in it, and of course I am. And in November we have the next Fachtagung, which you mentioned before, the Accordion Day, let's put it that way, a meeting of accordionists in Switzerland, or of accordion teachers and the accordion crowd. So this will be in November in Lucerne. I think there is a small concert with a small orchestra as a soloist in December. So there is, which is close to Stuttgart. So there's many things coming up, which I'm looking forward to. But yes, I guess I have to. My website doesn't have the dates for which are on right now or in the future. I guess there's some work to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I believe you will post regularly on Instagram or on Facebook about your activities. So if people want to follow you there, I will also link your website and also the link to your Instagram account in the description of this episode. And for the last question, for someone who, let's say, maybe imagine you have a student graduating from your class. What would be your advice to that student going forward?
Be as open as you can and be as curious as you can. Take the opportunities you get. Stay in touch with the people you like, the people that support you. Stay involved, and also I would say be aware of the fact that you are responsible yourself to make your life happening the way you want it to be, or you're responsible for yourself to keep the love you have for music and for the instrument.
Those are very, very important things. And this has been really a great conversation. Anna Maria, thank you very much. Again, I will link the everything we talked about in the description of this episode. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again in person somewhere.
I'm sure we will meet soon, wherever it will be. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the interesting talk with you.